I think the whole context has been since morning. We've been hearing a lot about how cancer care, cancer treatment has evolved. We've been hearing a lot about precision medicine. We've been hearing a lot about research, CAR T cells, immunotherapy, a host of things. And I thought we've got a really phenomenal panel over here, experts. So we're going to pick their brains and we're going to try and understand how this has evolved and what are the new technologies that are available and how cancer care in general has changed. So the common complaint is we always start with the medical oncologist. So we're going to today start with the surgeon for a change. So Dr. Kanika, I think my main question is we've been hearing a lot about कि once upon a time जब हम surgery करते थे तो सब कुछ खोलना होता था, बड़े scars होते थे. So a lot of our patients would be very concerned कि surgery नहीं करनी है, करनी चाहिए. But we know in the last 10, 12 years, there's been a lot of changes in surgery, precision surgery, robotic surgery. तो आप please थोड़ा उस पे.
पहले हम कैंसर सर्जन के लिए बोला जाता था कि जितना बड़ा स्कार उतनी अच्छी सर्जरी, लेकिन अब कंसेप्ट ये है कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं वो प्रिसाइजली वो ही होना है, लेकिन क्या आप उसको और बेटर तरीके से दे सकते हैं. सो द आंसर इज़ वी स्विच फ्रॉम लैप्रोटमी टू laparoscopy, which we call minimal invasive, and now the technology has further advanced. So we are shifting towards robotic. So is some robot is coming and going to do the surgery? Madam, robot करेगा तो आप standby पे होंगे या you are on call that time? So no, it's a high-end laparoscopy surgery which has been given the name of robot. No robot comes and do the surgery. It's only the way we are doing is shifted. Laparoscopy, if we see, is two-dimensional, and in robot, today only itself, in the morning I have done one more robotic in a cancer surgery. So the advantages of robotic surgery is, because we see 3D, almost like पेन में उतर कर आप सर्जरी कर रहे हैं. इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स उसके इतने पावरफुल हैं, उनके मोमेंट्स more than my fingers are there, zoom is there, camera is with me, the surgeon, so you're not dependent on much on your assistant. You can do whatever you feel like. You can do it with laparoscope also, but you are more not dependent on your assistant and can do a better surgery. You can zoom it, you can see precisely, so complication rates goes down, bleeding goes down, pain goes down, so almost it can be a daycare surgery जहाँ हम आपको सुबह एडमिट करें और शाम को घर भेज सकते हैं. किस में सबसे ज़्यादा इसका एडवांटेज है? कैंसर में, क्योंकि प्रिसाइजली बड़ी सर्जरी, बड़ा स्कार जो होता है वो सब इसमें हट जाता है एंड रिजल्ट्स आर सेम. अगर मैं उनकी लॉन्गिविटी को या रिकरेंस को या टिश्यू हिस्टोपैथ को कंपेयर करूं, it is precisely same whether I do it lap, I do it open or I do it robotically. जब पेशेंट घर जल्दी जाता है, घर चल पड़ता है, तो नेचुरली जो फीलिंग वेल बीइंग की होती है कि मैं आधे से ज़्यादा मैंने अचीव कर लिया, वो that is there with them. Second thing it comes is cost. So क्या कॉस्ट रोबोटिक की सच में ज़्यादा है कि ये हाइप ज़्यादा है? यस, एक एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी है, जब हम यूज़ कर रहे हैं थोड़ा सा कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है, पर हम में से यहाँ जितने बैठे हैं सच में दिल पे हाथ रख के बताएं कि जब हम एक वेडिंग के लिए अपनी, चाहे बी इट्स सिस्टर इन लॉ और फ्रेंड के लिए, उसकी वेडिंग के लिए हम खुद अपने लिए ड्रेस खरीद रहे होते हैं, एक एक लहंगा 1.5-2 लाख के नीचे का नहीं आता. सो दिस इज़ माई बॉडी. इवन इफ आई एम स्पेंडिंग 1.5 lakhs extra for robotic, which is not 1.5 lakhs because you go early. There is less complications, so you are not paying for those complications. You are going pain-free. You are going home early, so the cost of the days you are occupying in the hospital are all cut down. So I think nothing is like robotic surgery when surgeon is also comfortable and you are also pain free. So I think modern days are going to be with robotic surgeries, and as we are going to advance further, I think more and more the number of companies are going to pitch in and that cost is going to go down.
एब्सोल्युटली एंड हम देख भी रहे हैं हमारे क्लिनिक्स में कई बारी जो प्रिवेंटिव तौर के लिए भी होते हैं ना, जो है जिनका हाई रिस्क होता है ओवेरियन कैंसर के लिए, तो कई लोग ऑप्ट भी करते हैं ये रिस्क रिड्यूसिंग सर्जरीज के लिए जो रोबोटिक है. हर कोई तो सर्जरी के लिए नहीं जाएगा. कई और आर देयर एनी अदर प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स दैट अ पेशेंट कैन टेक और देयर फैमिली मेम्बर्स कैन टेक? कॉमन क्वेश्चन होता है कोई वैक्सीन है, तो आप उस पर थोड़ा इफ यू कैन शेड लाइट प्लीज.
एक चीज़ जो मैं रोबोट में भूल गई कि मेनली ये जो ओबीस और एल्डरली वुमेन्स हैं उनके लिए बहुत बेटर है. वुमेन बिकॉज आई एम अ गायनी ऑन्कोलॉजिस्ट, इट्स फॉर द एल्डरलीज एंड obese. I have done more than 130 kg obese women sent back day after the surgery. 82 years we have done the surgery, she has gone back next day. So coming back to your question for prevention, so prevention we divide into three parts: primary prevention, secondary prevention and tertiary prevention. So primary prevention, where the vaccine comes in, also depends upon your lifestyle, what you are eating, how you are exercising, whether using tobaccos or not, and then comes the vaccine. So vaccines can only be there when there is bacteria or virus. So we know 2 or 3 virus. All of you knows. Can somebody names 2 viruses? Come on. Yeah. HPV, okay. What is commonest virus? अभी सब कोविड कैसे भूल सकते हैं यार कोविड को? पोलियो 2 बूंद जिंदगी की, isn't it? So these 2 virus से हम ये निकाल सकते हैं कि there is no treatment for the virus. It's the prevention, which is vaccination. So cervical cancer, which is the commonest cancer in a woman, is the causative agent 99% is human papilloma virus. And out of this 100 HPVs, there are few strains which are high risk. And out of those 14 or 15 high risk, there are 2 virus, HPV virus, 16 and 18, which causes 70 to 80% of the cervical cancer. So if we can prevent them by giving vaccines to our younger girls, starting the age 9 years to 14 years, 1 dose or 2 dose, they are coming up with single 1 dose also. And from 15 to age 25 years in 3 doses or 2 doses, 6 months apart, you can prevent these 80% of the cancer, right? But there are nanovalent vaccines also where 7 high-risk viruses are there. Still further remaining viruses is there. So if I'm vaccinating my young girl or my young lady, still the secondary prevention, which is liquid pap plus HPV, we have to keep on doing starting from the age 21 years till 30 years conventional every 3 years, and from 30 to 65 years every 3 to 5 years if I'm taking HPV virus also in that. So pap smear is taking a fluid from your body, from your vagina and the cervix, and it's not painful, it's not costly, and it should be done so we can diagnose in a pre-cancerous condition and can prevent it into developing into the cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Kanika. So, Dr. Dipanjan, we were just discussing robotic surgeries, we're discussing prevention. I think a common question that you also must be getting in your clinic is, what is the role of CAR T cell? Every patient wants to do CAR T cell. Every patient's like, can I do immunotherapy? Can we, monoclonal antibody conjugates are there? They're like, there's so much evolution in the way we treat. And because we get these little, very happy, positive stories of a patient being cured from cancer, or the intervention of AI, which is, fast becoming, it's quite rampant at the way it's coming to our clinical practice. For you as a treating medical oncologist, what are your thoughts on all of this? And if you could just help us understand, where do we stand with all this information in our clinical setup in India?
So first of all, I would like to say we doctors have a tendency to use medical jargons and obfuscate people. So we do it almost like voluntarily. So I'll consciously try to avoid from that. So you see, science always changes. I mean, for 2,000 years, Aristotle prevailed upon scientists, and we thought that Earth is static and sun rotates. And when Galileo and Kepler says, no, it's not Earth-centric, the church really tortured them. Then Galileo and Newton challenges some of the Galileo's ideas. Einstein challenges the whole gravitational idea, and when quantum science came, even the Einstein theories. So that's how science progresses. So cancer therapy also has evolved over time, started with Röntgen, with X-rays. The anti-cancer drug initially, which post-Second World War, started with all those chemical drug gases like nitrogen mustard, which was try to kill people, and people found that these things also can cure cancer, kill cancer cells. For almost 50 years, we have very few anti-cancer drugs, and they are like artilleries, that they used to kill all the rapidly dividing cells. And we have so few. I actually, at B.B. Dixit Library at AIIMS, I got the first volume of Harrison's textbook of medicine, and the whole chapter on oncology was around 20 pages. It was so few. From there, we have come a long way. Especially after late 90s and early 2000, we started realizing that conventional anti-cancer drugs, which kills not only the cancer cells, but also kills a lot of normal cells and has a lot of side effects, are not the only answer. Like ma'am has says, from Halstedian theory of doing a bigger surgery is better, we are coming to minimal access and minimally invasive surgery. We also started understanding the pathophysiology of cancer cells. And we found that body's immunity plays a bigger role not only in preventing infections like bacteria and viruses, but even preventing and treating cancers, body's immunity has a big role. So there was a Japanese scientist named Honzo and an American scientist named James Elson. They found that how the cancer evades. So like a stealth bombers, which evades radar. If you have seen a Harry Potter movie, there was a cloak. If you wear that cloak, you become invisible. So the cancer cells also presents themselves as a friend of body. So body do not recognize them. So they do not mount any immune attack to kill them. So what immunotherapy, it's a very big term. In fact, vaccine is also a type of immunotherapy. So they basically activate our body's immune system to identify and kill cancer cells. So there are various types of immunotherapy. Vaccine is the oldest immunotherapy, where body's immune system recognizes these cells and it can kill. But also there is an immune checkpoint inhibitors, which has now become a very widely prevalent. This is a drug which unmask the cancer cells to our body's immune system so that they can recognize and effectively kill them. Now, how immunotherapy is different from conventional cancer treatment. In conventional cancer treatment, the moment you kill the cancer cells and drug effect is over, few cancer cells, after Second World War, the cockroaches survived because they are radio resistant and they kept in the deep inside. So some cancer cells always live. To give an example and perspective, a 1 gram of tumor, which is size of a pea, has got 10 to the power 9 cells, which is roughly 100 million. And when you increase by 3 log, that is become roughly 1 kilo, that is the size of a medium-sized cabbage. It has got about 100 billion cells. So if you kill 99.9% of cancer cells and from that cabbage only a pea remains, still you have about 10 crore cells remaining. The immunotherapy, what it does, once it activates the T cells, there is a subgroup of cells called memory T cells that it remembers. So there was a Hollywood movie where a father gave his son a makeshift radio, and it read, "A son always remembers." so that T cell remembers. So again, when the cancer cell try to replicate them, the T cell again become activate and kill. So the beauty of immunotherapy vis-a-vis conventional therapy, that the effect of this treatment lasts longer even if you do not, you have stopped treating. So that is what immune checkpoint inhibitor does. That is what vaccines does. Now about CAR T cell therapy, as I told you, we oncologists are a little fond of acronyms. We need to have a tendency of because CAR T is but CAR. There is nothing called CAR. It's called chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy. Chimera was a Greek animal, I believe. Yeah. There are two animals which are the face of something and a body of something. So this is basically, it is used in blood cancer. Dr. Nataraj actually very eloquently told. So mostly they are used nowadays in blood cancer. Also, I think in coming future, very near future, will be used in solid tumor also. But as of now, it is in the lymphomas and acute lymphoblastic leukemia and myelomas. So you have got a blood cancer. We take the T lymphocytes, which is a normal blood cell, from the patient, and then we put the chimeric antigen receptor in vitro, that is in lab, against that particular cancer cells, and then we proliferate and re-inject them. And it is very, I'm trying to say it easily, it's not so easy. And then the advantage is they not only specifically kills those cancer cells, they also by themselves self-replicating, proliferating. So you have an army from 1 से 1000 हो गए, जैसे महाभारत में वो नारायणी सेना थे ना अर्जुन के. But there are certain side effects of CAR T cell. So I am a devil's advocate. CAR T cell can cause hyperimmune reaction. Okay, so there is, and it can be sometimes even be fatal also. So how much to give, how to give, when to give, that is a decision which only your oncologist or your hemato-oncologist can take. Normally, we try to give CAR T cell therapy in a refractory disease when the disease is at its smallest. And secondly, it is a very expensive therapy as of now, approximately 4 to 5 crore rupees. But in India, it is heartening that at least 3 centers are trying to develop it by own. IIT Mumbai with Tata Memorial Hospital is trying to develop their own CAR T cell therapy. Biocon, Kiran Majumdar Shaw, I think with Siddharth Mukherjee's team, and there is another centers which are trying to develop. Already the cost for Indian patient is coming to around, I think, somewhere 50 lakhs to 60 lakhs. And I'm sure in a couple of years, it will come under 25 lakhs. It's still a pretty expensive therapy, but it is not for everyone. It is only for a particular subset of refractory disease. So let your oncologist decide, but we are living a great time in India, Aparna, as you know. We have really got this extra therapy which is available in USA yesterday and available in India now.
Absolutely, and I think what I can see is that we have evolved. Like we were barely 1 2 steps behind the West, and that's what Dr. Pooja and I were just discussing a little bit earlier. That, you know, there's a lot of research that is happening, and I know you're a prolific researcher, but I also know that you're a patient advocate. And what becomes a very important question is when we start discussing this, so patients research and come, they say, doctor, are you making us a guinea pig? Are you experimenting on us? There's a lot of, there's certain blemishes around this whole area of research. So, you know, as a patient advocate, as a researcher, what would be your takeaway to this audience with considering there's so much happening? Dr. Pooja.
So my message is not only to the audience which is patients, but also to the audience which is doctors. So आज जो डॉक्टर दीपंजन ने कहा कि डॉक्टर्स ना बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग भाषा में बात करते हैं, आधी चीज़ तो समझ ही नहीं आती. So I am a gynecologist. When I was in my doctor avatar, I actually did speak like, you know, he said, in a very, very more technical manner. फिर मेरी बिटिया fell sick. एंड डॉक्टर जो एक्सपर्ट थे उन्होंने कहा कि पूजा देर इज़ 80% चांस ऑफ दिस एंड 20% चांस ऑफ दिस. तो मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया. मैंने कहा मेरा बच्चा किस वाले में पढ़ रहा है, 80 में पढ़ रहा है कि 20 में पढ़ रहा है, ये मुझे क्या समझ आएगा, राइट? एंड आई एम अ डॉक्टर, आई couldn't make out what 80-20 means, right? So it's very important how we speak to the patient, how the patient understands. There are 2 messages I want to leave the patients with and the doctors with. That आप जो भी डिसीजन लेते हैं, चाहे आप क्लिनिकल केयर डिसीजन लें, चाहे आप क्लिनिकल रिसर्च डिसीजन लें, एक तो जान समझ के लें, राइट? वो एक सर्फ की एड में आती थी ना मैडम, बहुत पुराने हमारे टाइम में, है ना, ललिता जी, कि जानकार बने। तो प्लीज़ बी अवेयर, आपको पता होना चाहिए आप किस चीज़ में हिस्सा ले रहे हैं, कौन सी दवाई ले रहे हैं। अगर दीपंजन जी समझा रहे हैं और आपको नहीं समझ आ रही, आप उनसे फिर से पूछिए कि आप इसको और भी सिंपल करके समझाएं, ये मुझे नहीं समझ में आया। इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द पेशेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि उसके पास एक वॉइस है, तो उसको यूज़ करें। एक बड़ा अच्छा स्टेटमेंट है, नथिंग अबाउट मी विदाउट मी। मेरे बारे में जो भी कर रहे हैं मुझे इन्वॉल्व करके करना पड़ेगा, आपको मेरे बिना नहीं कर सकते। डॉक्टर बेटर जानता है, ऐसा नहीं होता, राइट? हम रिसर्च करते हैं, रिसर्च में एक मैं वर्क कर रही थी विद अ डॉक्टर इन ऑन्कोलॉजी ऑन ओरल कैंसर्स। मतलब उसमें डॉक्टर का इंटरेस्ट रहता है कि कितना सर्वाइवल होगा, कितना प्रोग्रेशन फ्री सर्वाइवल होगा, दीज आर टर्म्स डॉक्टर समझते हैं। पेशेंट को उसमें इंटरेस्ट नहीं है। पेशेंट को इंटरेस्ट है जब मेरे को रेडिएशन होगा तो मैं स्वॉलो नहीं कर पाऊंगा, मैं खाना नहीं खा पाऊंगा, मेरे को टेस्ट नहीं होगा, मैं बात नहीं कर पाऊंगा, मेरे को नींद नहीं आएगी, मेरे को पेन होगा। उसको ये इंटरेस्ट नहीं है कि मैं 5 हफ्ते जीऊँगा कि मैं 6 हफ्ते जीऊँगा। उस 1 हफ्ते से उसको कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ रहा। इट्स अ वेरी डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव। एंड मेरा पैशन ये रहा है कि मैं ये मैसेज जितने लोगों तक पहुंचा सकूं कि पेशेंट ओरिएंटेड एविडेंस, जो भी चीज़ हो पेशेंट ओरिएंटेड हो। पेशेंट का क्या प्रायोरिटी है वो ज़रूर पूछें, राइट? कई पेशेंट्स के लिए कॉस्मेसिस बड़ी प्रायोरिटी होती है, ब्रेस्ट कैंसर पेशेंट्स के लिए, हम कंचन बोलेंगे बाद में। कई लोगों के लिए ज़रूरी नहीं होता कि ब्रेस्ट है कि नहीं है, राइट? कई लोगों के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी होता है कि ब्रेस्ट इक्विवेलेंट दिखना चाहिए। तो पेशेंट से पूछें उसके लिए क्या इम्पोर्टेंट। एंड गिनी पिग्स जो आपने कहा, ये मैं हरविंदर जी से भी बोल चुकी हूँ कि ये एक स्टोरी बहुत पहले 20-25 साल पहले स्टार्ट हुई थी, क्योंकि बाहर की कंट्रीज़ की रिसर्च इंडिया में आती थी। हम गरीब मुल्क थे उस समय, तो उस समय होता था कि भाई वी आर नाउ बिकमिंग गिनी पिग्स ऑफ फॉरेन बिग फार्मा, और वो हमारे पे रिसर्च कर रहे हैं। बट आपको ये समझना ज़रूरी है कि डिजीज़ भी इंडिया में बहुत ज़्यादा हैं। अगर कोई डायबिटीज़ पे रिसर्च नहीं करेगा तो हमें कैसे दवाई मिलेगी? कोई कार्टी सेल नहीं बनाएगा तो कैसे हमारे को कार्टी ट्रीटमेंट मिलेगा? तो ये जो गैप है इसको कम करने के लिए हमें रिसर्च में हिस्सा लेना चाहिए। अब रिसर्च में हिस्सा लेकिन अगेन एज अ नॉलेजेबल पार्टनर लेना चाहिए, एंड एज अ पार्टनर लेना चाहिए, नॉट एज मेरे पे एक्सपेरिमेंट हो रहा है। नहीं, आप पे कोई एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं हो रहा। सो इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड। एंड अब इंडिया में इतने रिसोर्सेज हैं कि आप करेक्ट रिसोर्स में जाएं। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ही बताती है आपको। क्लिनिकल ट्रायल रजिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया इज़ अ वेरी नाइस वेबसाइट। मैनी पेशेंट्स हु डोंट नो कि मेरे को क्या ट्रीटमेंट, अब मेरे सामने कोई और ट्रीटमेंट नहीं है, तो टाटा मेमोरियल में रिसर्च हो रही है। सर को कैसे पता है, कैसे पता है इनको कि यू नो कौन सा आपने दूसरा बताया था, नहीं टाटा मुंबई, किरण मजुमदार शॉ की बायोकॉन की यूनिट में हो रहा है, क्योंकि ये क्लिनिकल ट्रायल रजिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया में रजिस्टर्ड रिसर्च होगी। कई हॉस्पिटल्स होते हैं कहते हैं जी हम स्टेम सेल लगा देंगे, स्टेम सेल लगा देंगे। स्टेम सेल कई जगह गलत भी लगा रहे हैं, राइट? कई जगह सही चीज़ में भी नहीं लगा रहे। तो आपके पास एक गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया वेबसाइट है, उस पर जाके देखिए, वैलिडेटेड रिसर्च, डॉक्टर का नाम, उसका फ़ोन नंबर। अगर आप अवेयर होंगे तो आप ये चीज़ यू कैन एक्चुअली फॉलो अप ऑन इट एंड डू द करेक्ट थिंग।
Absolutely. Thank you. I think no one could have said it better than you. And actually, taking off from what she said, right, keeping the patient in the center, I think one aspect, one vertical that we have in cancer care is this vertical of pain and palliative care. और सबसे बड़ा misconception होता है कि आप अपने pain palliative specialist से तब मिलेंगे जब वो end of life में होता है. And I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions. What do you think, Dr. Charu? How does your role fit in right at the beginning of this journey of a patient, no matter how early or how late stage the cancer is?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Post lunch session talking about palliative care, सबको लगता है बड़ा depressing है, but palliative care actually means hope, and palliative care means keeping the patient and the family at the center. And जैसा मैम ने बोला, it's never about last stage of the any kind of a treatment, last stage of any kind of a disease, pre-terminal stage. No, you know, the doctors who are sitting right to me, they're talking about artificial intelligence, they're talking about robotic surgeries, CAR T-cell therapy. But what we practice, what we do is actually humanizing the entire medicine. I still believe in holding my patient's hands and just telling them that we'll be able to do it, not giving you an unrealistic hope, but understanding कि quality of life matters the most. और सिर्फ आपकी quality of life नहीं, आपकी family की quality of life भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. Understanding your social status, understanding your financial issues, understanding your psychosocial issues, understanding your job satisfaction, understanding your employment status, all this can actually make a lot of difference from anybody suffering not only from cancer, but for other irreversible terminal issues. And as she rightly said, palliative care should not only be considered by any specialist when the disease is getting pre-terminal. It can be started at any stage of the disease, at the early stages of the disease, even in a patient with CKD, chronic kidney disease, or obesity, or metabolic syndrome, or a patient who is suffering from any form of cancer, multiple organ dysfunction. Don't wait that the patient lands till the critical end, and then you involve the palliative care when you become hopeless. At that time, it is called as end-of-life care, which is hospice care, which is not palliative care. So, understanding, जैसा मैम ने बोला, understand, be aware, and palliative care का सबसे important जो होता है वो होता है, adding life to the years, not adding years to your life. So जब तक आपकी चाहे one day of pain-free life, that's what we practice as, one day of pain-free life is much better than 10 years of painful life. And as long as you, as long as the patient, as long as their families are in the sync of a better quality of life, a better dignified way of living, having a good financial, social, emotional, spiritual, and then physical well-being, unless and until that happens, the entire treatment modality and interdisciplinary approach of including different doctors with high-tech technologies go into vain. So it is very important to add, and especially with an increasing geriatric population in India, the grey tsunami is touching in, and we are expecting at least double the number of senior citizens above the age of 60 by 2030 and then 2050. Every third to fifth person in India will be a person above the age of 60. We must understand the importance of geriatric inflammation, aging inflammation, chronic issues, chronic diseases such as cancer, which are coming up, and they need to be tackled with a holistic manner.
Thank you. You kind of beat me to the question of what would you do different from a geriatric perspective. But we do have 2 minutes left. Would any of the panelists like to add anything? Dr. Panda.
I think I forgot to mention about artificial intelligence, what you asked. See, artificial intelligence or machine learning has come a big way. So we are gathering data, machine analyzing, and taking many decisions for us. It has got its pro, like digital pathology, teleradiology has made our life easy. But I have a little other perspective to it. Unless and until we put the patient or a human being in the center of this, the thing can be really, really grotesque. Have you recently heard some disturbing news from Gaza that Israel soldiers are using artificial intelligence to decide who is the terrorist and who is an human being, leading to tragic loss of lives? See, I come from eastern part of India, from a middle class family, studied throughout in my life with a government school, government college, with a scholarship. And I always remember that scholarships money has come from taxes, not only paid by income tax paying people, even that half-naked person who is buying the salt and paying that indirect tax, that money has also gone into my study. From Calcutta to Harvard, this journey is basically sponsored by the poor people of. If you think of that, then your decision making, as Mahatma Gandhi said, if you have issues, whether right or wrong, think that whether this decision reaches to the last man. So I think that philosophical perspective, unless it comes in the centers, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, deep learning has no meaning unless you have put that human mind into it. So whenever I come for these discussions, I was discussing with Aparna, by the way, she's a great scientist and researcher, though she's moderating, that sometimes we get swayed, we become big, we think we are too big person. As we say in Calcutta, it is very, do you know more than me? Sometimes the doctor tell the patient. And ma'am has just rightly said, it is the patient's body, patient's mind. So I think when you think of that last man, and don't think judge him by his clothes, and always remember how the ultimate aim is to improve his quality of life and ease his journey in a difficult phase, I think then only all this technology will come into place. So whatever technology now or future, the philosophy remains same. It has to be that human being in center. Then everything will be better. So that was my.
Thank you. Thank you. I think what the main essence of this panel has been, ki yes, we have great technology available to us, but all of it is patient-centric. The patient, our focus is the patient for the betterment of the patient. And I think there's not a better way to sum up this panel. So thank you so much to my panelists, and thank you so much to the audience for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna.